So great to have the new contract done and dusted.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've probably been working towards for a little bit of time, but really stoked that it's out the way and now I can just focus on playing good footy.
Was it consuming you at all? Because obviously your form this season would suggest not at all. You've been in such red hot form, but was it taking anything away from your performances or distracting you at all?
I don't think so. It's something where you don't really have control over it. No matter what you're going to do, things are going to be written about it. But I had some really great advice and I've got some good mentors at the club in senior players that have helped me through the situations.
Who do you see as your biggest mentor at the club?
Probably JK, yeah, just playing a similar position to him, and I suppose we had probably a little bit of a similar start to our careers. He didn't play a lot early at Carlton, and then obviously he was under a lot of pressure, probably more pressure than I can understand when he came over here, and he handled it really, really well. So he's someone you can look up to because he's been through all the highs and the lows of AFL footy.
Was there really ever a temptation to leave the club, or was it always Eagles?
Yeah, it was pretty much always Eagles. I grew up in Perth and have loved the club ever since I was a kid. All I ever wanted to do was play for the Eagles long term, and to be able to, I suppose, achieve that goal has been unbelievable for me.
We've seen other players sort of try to hold out a little bit with it and hope that they then have a couple of massive games and the price goes up. Did you consider holding out a little bit longer, or were you wanting to just knock it over as quickly as you could?
Yeah, I was pretty keen just to get it over and done with. Obviously, the longer you wait, the more that's going to be written about it. And personally, I felt like I was in a pretty good position to re-sign, and the club put a lot of faith in me and were willing to re-sign me. So I didn't want to disrespect that from their part.
Have you given up cash to stay?
No, I'm not. No, I mean, the club's been really good with me, and we've been quite reasonable with each other. So I think we're both relatively happy with how it went.
Obviously, the news is Willie's back in Perth and he's just going to be back at the club in a few weeks. How's the playing group feeling about that?
Yeah, we're excited. We haven't seen him for up to 2 years. We're pretty much over 2 years, so we're excited to see him, see how he's going, and really catch up with him off field as well.
Are you allowed to, in terms of are you allowed to reach out to him and catch up with him outside of the club?
Yeah, on a personal basis you are allowed to do that, but obviously we've got the date that he'll be allowed to come back into the club. Until then, we won't be able to see him at the facilities, but guys can reach out independently if they want to.
How much was the playing group really, from your point of view, asked about the situation as a whole from the original date when we found out about the Willie news to him being announced coming back? How much were you consulted about that along the way?
Yeah, the club were really good with keeping us up to date, but at the end of it, it's a board decision, and it was a decision higher up. I believe Simo commented on it a couple of times, and he didn't really have much say either. It was above his pay grade, so we were just kind of waiting to see what the outcome would be, but we support the club 100% no matter what the decision was.
It's a bit weird. There's blokes at this club who haven't actually played with him, or perhaps some who haven't even met him properly. It's been so long. Is it different for this group than what it was when he left?
Yeah, it definitely is. I remember talking about it, and all the first and second years haven't played with him, and I had maybe a year and a half with him, so it's definitely been a long time. So we're just excited to get him back in the club. He's a fabric of the club, and we can't wait to see him.
Do you have a good bond with him? Given the lack of time with him?
Yeah, obviously we played in the forward line together, so 2019 was great, and I think we all saw what he can bring on field. He's probably the most talented player I've ever played with, so we're just excited to hopefully see him back at his best soon.
How much has the forward line changed from when Willie last played to now? Will he be able to fit straight back in when he's ready?
Yeah, I mean, if he gets everything done and he's training well, that'll come, but he's a really good player, so you tend to be able to find a way to fit good players inside.
Is it hard to train by yourself? Like, he'll be by himself. How hard will it then for him to come back and, get straight into football, I guess?
Yeah, it is hard. We obviously had the COVID period last year where we experienced that a little bit, so it is tough, but he's had two years of it, so I'm sure another month or however long it will be won't be that hard for him. He's already done it for quite a long period of time.
Just on your role at the moment, obviously Gov still carrying that injury. You thinking you'll spend more time down back in the next few weeks than up forward?
It's probably a game-by-game basis depending on what the other team what they present to us and what we want as well with our forward line. So we'll just have to wait and see. We haven't finished match committee yet, so I'm not actually too sure what the final team is either. So we'll wait and see what that is, but if need be, I quite like going down back. They've got a great unit down there and some good leaders as well.
But day-by-day basis, how restrictive is that with your life?
Yeah, it's a little bit restrictive. It's probably a little bit over the top. The club's really good. Our S&C staff are amazing, and they just want to make sure they minimise risk as much as possible, whether it's just grabbing a car door handle and something happens where it's not in the right place. But for me, it's in a really good position. I don't notice it when I'm playing. So that's the main thing that allows me to play with it and not notice it whatsoever.
So do you put that on as soon as you wake up, sort of thing, and spend it on all day? Is that how you're trying to protect it?
Yeah, basically 24/7. So I've had this on for the last week, and hopefully I'll be able to get it off soon.
So what's the hardest part about living with that on you then? Is it driving? Is it just walking around the house, grabbing things?
Probably the inside of my car, obviously the steering wheel, and then the car I've got scratched up the side of the window because every time I bump it, so that's probably the most frustrating part about it.
How much are you keeping an eye on the COVID situation over recently? You guys are due to fly over next week and play Carlton. Is it starting to be a bit concerning?
I mean, it's out of our control. We had a pretty good experience with it last year in the hub of you kind of got to be fluid and go with the motions, and we know the club are really invested in our best interest, so if something is to happen, they'll inform us as quick as they can, but we're just like everyone else really. We don't know what's going to happen, so all we can do is focus on this weekend, and whatever happens will happen.
Has there been talk of hubs potentially, or it's just, as you say, wait and see?
Yeah, not that I've heard of. I haven't spoken to, and the club haven't even mentioned it to us, so we're purely focused on this weekend. And then if there is one, then we'll deal with that when we get there.
What are the idea of everyone coming here? There is talk of some teams moving over
right.
shortly. Do you think WA would embrace the prospect of seeing more footy in this town?
Yeah, I mean, we're a footy town. Everyone loves footy, and obviously the hub's away at the end of last year. I think there was a lot of people in WA would have loved to have a lot of games over here. So I'm sure if it did happen, the community would accept it and really embrace the opportunity. But once again, that's a hypothetical, so I'm not really sure what will happen and what likelihood there is of that happening either.
Just on this week, Essendon, they're an interesting side on paper. How do you see them going?
Yeah, they're a good young side. They've got a lot of top-end draft picks from last year and a couple of years prior who were playing some good footy. So we've got to prepare for them at their best, and when they're at their best, we know how offensive and attacking they can be. So we're looking forward to it.
Jake Stringer returning, is that obviously going to cause a couple of headaches for some of your backmen?
Yeah, he's a really good player. So as I mentioned earlier, good players often come into the side and play a role really well. So we're excited for the challenge, but you can only play the team that's put out there. So it's out of our control.